Welcome to the Holistic Life Podcast, where the wisdom of the Word of God lights our path to mind, body, soul, and spirit wellness. Each episode, we delve into living a life that's not just healthy, but wholly aligned with the spiritual principles, exploring the intersection of faith and well-being. Join us as we uncover divine guidance for wellness, meditation, and harmony in life, taking this journey on living fully in His grace. Your transformation, grounded in faith and understanding, starts now.
Hey, good day. I am always delighted and excited to be back with you as always. I am going to get right into it, and I want to tell you something that may be hard to hear. And what that is when we talk about breakthrough, if you've been following along, this is what we have been talking about for the past couple of months. When you look at your breakthrough didn't fail you. You failed your breakthrough. And it's not because you're broken. It's not because you didn't try hard enough, but it's because you expected the breakthrough to do the work that only integration can do. You treated insight like a rival instead of an invitation. So, know who I am? Shelby Frederick, also known as Lady Jules. This is the Holistic Life Podcast. We are broadcasting live from the Columbus, Ohio region. So let's get into it, because today we're going to talk about why your breakthrough doesn't stick and what to do about it. What to do about it. I want to start off talking about the pattern, because here's what actually happens. You have a powerful moment, the clarity hits. You see the pattern, you understand the root, you feel the shift. And maybe it was therapy. Maybe it was a workshop. Maybe it was a coaching session. Maybe it was that 5 a.m. prayer when God finally showed you the truth. And you believe this moment will change everything. Why is that? It's because you feel different. You see things clearly. You're certain that this time is different. And then what? 2 weeks later, you're making the same choices. 3 months later, you're in the same pattern. 6 months later, you're wondering if the breakthrough was even real. So what do? We go looking for another breakthrough, a different therapist, a new method, a better coach, a different a community. You start collecting these breakthrough moments like they're trophies, and each one, it feels powerful in the moment, but also each one fades within weeks. And then you start to believe that something is wrong with you. You start to believe that you're just uniquely broken, that transformation works for everyone else, but not for you. Well, let me stop you right there, because that was the cycle and the pattern that I had to break out of. And what I come to realize was that the problem is what happened next, or more accurately, it's what didn't happen next. All right. So I want to talk about this integration gap, because there's a gap between insight and implementation that nobody talks about. And we call it the integration gap. Your breakthrough happened in your mind, but your patterns live in your nervous system. And these are two different operating systems, because your mind can receive new information instantly. You hear something, you hear truth, something clicks, but your nervous system has been running the same programs for years, and maybe even decades, sometimes even generations. So what happens is your mind says, well, I'm safe now, but your nervous system still runs in survival mode. Your mind says, I can trust people, but your nervous system is scanning for all of the threats. Your mind says, oh, I'm capable of this, but your nervous system still triggers that freeze response. And this, my friends, is the integration gap. And this is why it's important for us to make this understand this revelation, because we have to close the gap. And until we close the gap, every breakthrough will be temporary. And that's because the insights, they live in our conscious mind, but the patterns live in your subconscious nervous system. And your nervous system runs about 95% of the time. So here's what people miss: integration is not passive, integration isn't even automatic. Integration does not happen just because you had insight. Integration is that daily work of rewiring your nervous system to match your new awareness. We call this transformation. Integration is choosing to respond from your breakthrough instead of your pattern when the pressure hits. Integration is building that external structure that reflects your internal transformation. Integration is doing that unglamorous work when nobody's watching. Listen, nobody applauds integration work. Nobody celebrates you for pausing to breathe before responding to that challenging email or that text message. Nobody tracks how many times you caught yourself about to repeat a pattern and you chose differently. But this invisible work, it determines everything visible in your life. So I want to talk about the 3 failure points, because after working with many women and also going through the process myself, I've identified these 3 predictable failure points. And understanding which one applies to you changes everything. So, failure point number 1 is the lack of clarity. You keep having the breakthrough moments, but they contradict each other. One day you're certain about your next move, but then the next day you question everything. One coach tells you this, you're not sure about it, and then you go on to another coach that's going to tell you that. We have this podcast, that says something else. You have insights, but no discernment about which one to follow. So what happens is you confuse activity with progress. We think that busyness is purpose. We think that everyone's assignment is with yours. But the pattern, it's a pattern here. You're collecting breakthrough moments instead of building on them. So what you need is the ability to discern what's actually yours to carry versus what's noise, versus what's people pleasing, versus what's fear disguised as wisdom. And this is the first phase of the D.D.B framework, is discern. Before you can dismantle anything, you have to know what's actually yours to dismantle. Before you can build anything, you have to know what you're actually called to build. And that's the awesome, point of this whole process. Because we have to get to the point where we know exactly what these things are. We know exactly what they mean. We know what we need and to do, in order to reframe it. Listen, you have to understand the failure points. You have to understand the failure points. Now, I want to get into the second failure point. So, the second failure point is the lack of capacity. The lack of capacity. What does that mean? What are you talking about? You know exactly what you're called to do. Your vision is clear. The direction is obvious, but your body won't cooperate with your vision. So you start strong, but then you crash within weeks. You start to push through, then you burn out, and you need months to recover. You make progress, but then you sabotage it right before the breakthrough. See, your mind, it knows the path, but your nervous system hasn't caught up. So the pattern is you're operating from what we call the survival mode, trying to build a thriving life. But what you need is the ability to build internal capacity that matches your external calling. And this is the second phase of the D.D.B framework. That's dismantle and build. When we understand that we have to dismantle the survival wiring and build capacity for sustained transformation, you cannot skip this phase. You cannot hustle past it. You cannot positive think your way through it, because your nervous system capacity determines your life capacity. So that's failure point number 2. Failure point number 3 is the lack of execution. You have clarity, you've built capacity, you're ready, and your internal world is aligned. And that's because now your nervous system is regulated. Your nervous system is regulated. And when your nervous system is regulated, again, you can't skip this step. You know now what's yours to carry, but you don't know where to start with the actual business structure, life structure. You understand your assignment, but not how to monetize it. You have the internal foundation, but you need the external systems. So this pattern is you're spiritually and emotionally ready, but practically stuck. So what you need now is the ability to execute the business infrastructure that carries your calling. And this is where our new business in the box is coming in at. These are the practical systems and AI automation that manifest the internal transformation externally. So here's the key. There aren't 3 separate problems. There are 3 stages of the same journey. And you cannot skip stages. You cannot build a business or ministry, an organization on an unregulated nervous system. You cannot build capacity around the wrong calling. And this is why integration requires sequence. Integration requires sequence. So let's talk about the wellness foundation. This is where the 8 dimensions of wellness becomes essential, because transformation can't just happen in one area of life. It has to touch everything: physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, social, occupational, financial, and environmental. When you only work on emotional healing but ignore your physical health, the body sabotages all of the emotional work that you've done. When you only focus on spiritual growth but ignore financial reality, money problems derail your spiritual progress. When you build business success but sacrifice relational health, the loneliness, it destroys the success. So, can you see how everything is connected? And this is why I apply the D.D.B framework across the 8 dimensions. This is where you discern what's yours to carry in each area. You dismantle the patterns blocking you in each dimension, and you build the capacity to sustain transformation in all areas simultaneously. Because breakthrough that only touches one area of life will eventually be pulled back down by the unhealed areas. So you need complete integration, not fragmented healing. So let me give you a real example. I had a client, they came to me with business clarity. She knew exactly what she was called to build. She had the strategy, she had the vision, but every time she sat down to execute, anxiety would shut her down. We could have treated this just as a mindset problem. I could have told her just push through. I could have given her all of the affirmations, all of the scriptures about confidence. That would have been addressing symptoms. Instead, we looked at all 8 dimensions. The physical dimension, she was running on 5 hours of sleep and skipping meals. Emotional wellness, she had unprocessed grief from a recent loss. Spiritual wellness, She felt guilty about charging for her gifts. Intellectual wellness. She was not consuming content, but she was consuming the content, but not creating. Social wellness. She was isolated and she didn't have any peer support. Occupational awareness. She had no boundaries between work and rest. Financial wellness. She was operating from a scarcity panic. Environmental wellness. Her workspace was chaotic and triggering. So the business anxiety wasn't a business problem, it was a whole life system problem. So, what did we do? We addressed all 8 dimensions simultaneously. And within 6 weeks, she launched. And it's not because she got more confidence, but because she built the complete infrastructure that made confidence possible. Wow. How many of you are saying, that's me? That's me. How many of you are saying right now, you're talking to me? If I'm talking to you, go ahead and just leave me a note. Drop it in the chat. Listen, I want to look at this responsibility, this conversation that we have to have, because this is a real conversation. Because it's hard to hear, but it's necessary to say. Nobody can integrate wellness or your breakthrough for you. Not your therapist, not your coach, not your spouse, not your pastor, not your accountability partner, not your best friend. They can support you, they can guide you, they can hold space, they can celebrate the wins, but the work is yours. And integration requires taking responsibility. You have to take responsibility for your nervous system regulation. You have to take responsibility for your daily choices. You have to take responsibility for the gap between what you know and how you live. You have to take responsibility for building the structure that holds what God gave you. And this is not about shaming you. This is not about shame. This is about ownership. Because what you know what shame says? Shame says I'm broken and I can't change. But responsibility says I'm capable and I'm choosing to change. There's a massive difference. And I learned this the hard way. I spent years collecting breakthrough moments. Every new method, I was on it. Every new coach, every new approach. Each one gave me insight. Each one felt powerful, but none of them stuck. And it wasn't because they weren't good, it was because I wasn't integrating them. I was waiting for breakthrough to save me instead of responsibility for building on it. But the shift came when I stopped looking for the next breakthrough and started honoring the one I already had. And that's what I created the D.D.B framework from. It was from that realization. And I shifted and now have built my entire business around helping women take responsibility for their transformation. Not collecting more insights, but building on the insights they already have. So, I want to talk about this new economy. And here's why this matters more now than ever before. The business landscape is shifting. We're moving from money-led success to wellness-led success. For the last decade, the path to wealth focused on all of the external tactics, how to make money, how to scale, how to optimize funnels. All of the information about how to succeed became the commodity that everyone traded. But with AI now handling the how to work, the bottleneck for success is no longer information. It's the human operating the business. Can you make decisions from clarity instead of panic? Can you sustain growth without burning out? Can you strategically handle when AI handles the tactical? Can you lead from a regulated nervous system instead of survival mode? And this is why wellness is becoming the competitive advantage. Your internal state determines your external results. Your nervous system regulation, it predicts your business sustainability. Your wellness foundation is your business strategy. This ain't some woo 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 stuff. This is practical business reality for the AI age. So the next wave of successful people won't just know sales funnels or the credit hacks. They'll be the ones who did the internal work to create from real safety, real vision, and energetic alignment. So, my friends, my sisters, my brothers, the game is changing. And the leaders who understand this are already building differently. They're already building differently. If you begin to pay very, very close attention to those that you may be listening to or the things that you may see, you'll be able to see this so very, very clearly. So where do we go from here? What are your next steps? Well, your next steps are this. First, stop collecting breakthrough moments and start honoring the breakthrough you already have. The second is to identify which failure point is blocking you. Is it lack of clarity? Do you need discernment? Is it the lack of capacity? You need nervous system work. If it's the lack of execution, then you need systems. Number three is you want to commit to integration work, not another breakthrough. Integrate what you already know. And I'm teaching this complete framework on November the 18th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a free masterclass, Why Your Breakthrough Doesn't Stick. And I'm going to show you the integration gap in detail, which failure point is blocking you, the complete D.D.B framework, how to apply it across all 8 dimensions of wellness. It's going to show your next steps based on where you are now. This isn't a sales pitch disguised as teaching. This is actual framework. It's the actual tools. It's the actual next steps. You'll walk away knowing why your breakthrough didn't stick and what to do about it. The registration link is going to be in the show notes, but whether you join the masterclass or not, here's what I want you to remember. Your breakthrough was real, but the integration was missing. You're not uniquely broken. You're normally human with an understanded or an under integrated breakthrough. Remember, the work is internal and the time is now, and you're capable of doing it. So thanks for listening. If this episode resonated with you, go ahead and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And I look forward to being back with you on next week for the Holistic Life Podcast. Blessings.
Thank you for joining us on the Holistic Life Podcast, where our foundation is the Word of God and our path is wellness in His light. We hope today's episode enriches your journey to a life of health and spiritual fulfillment. Remember, each step toward holistic living is a step closer to embodying His teachings. For continued inspiration, follow our journey. Until next time, embrace your faith, nurture your entire being, and watch your life bloom in His glory. We'll catch you on the airways. Be blessed.